Now, what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to simply record a macro, a very simple macro. Where what I will be doing is, I will be going in every cell here and I will be creating some monthly invoice, right? And then we will go and discuss that what happens when you select the cells, and then what happens when you select the sheet, when you go from one sheet to another sheet, because this is the very first basic thing we should know in VBA: how to select the cells, how to move from one sheet to another. After all, this is what you have to do in VBA, in Excel, isn't it? Excel is about what? Working with the sheets, and in the sheets you have a data which is stored in the cells. So all the time you are busy with the Excel sheets or cells, isn't it? So that's the first thing we should know: how to select a cell, how to select a sheet using VBA, right? Okay, so the first thing, let's record a macro. Now, when you record a macro, this pop-up comes and this tells you, okay, your macro will have a name called macro1. Well, I will like to rename the name. Why? What is the reason? Because if I record 10 macros, this will give me every time macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, macro 4, macro 5, macro 6. And after a week, I open this file and let's say I'm looking for some specific macro which was doing some, copy and paste of data. How will I come to know which macro is it? I had created. You have to go to every macro, isn't it? If you come after a week, or maybe you say, I have a very good memory, sir, I will remember it. Well, then maybe what happens if you come after a month? Sir, I can still remember it. So what if you have 20 macros created? Macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, macro 4, macro 5, macro 6, and up till macro 20. Sir, I can still do it. Oh, really? So what if you are on a leave and then you have a backup? You want that your backup should do your work, isn't it? That's how in a company the system works. Now, can you guarantee that your backup will have all those things? No. So why not to give it a name, something meaningful? I always say this. It's not about this macro only, even the sheets. You see, I given a name, demo and discussion. Don't leave your sheets like this. Sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. What is this? It's your data. Till the time you will not love your data, you cannot do anything in this field. If you are here that, okay, I will have a superb career, I will make full on automations for my company, I will rise. Yes, you will. But first of all, you have to fall in love with your data. You should keep your data in a very, very respectful manner. How to keep the data? Well, this is something we'll talk later. I mean, just can't, store the data in very tidy manner, like some rows are blank, some columns are not filled properly. No, information has always it has to be full information. And also your sheets also tells you about the information. I have a Europe sheet, I have a Asia sheet, I have a Africa sheet. That's a good approach rather than sheet 1 has Europe, sheet 2 has this, and sheet 3 has that. No, right? So the first thing which I will do is I will rename this as, this is going to be, let's say, bill invoice. How about that? Bill invoice. Now there are rules, very strict rules. You just can't go and create any name here. Like for example, you can't create a space here. They will stop you. You won't be able to create a space. This is something we will talk in the next chapter. What are the rules? Right now, the name which I'm going to give, I'll just go and put the underscore here. So for now, remember, you can use the characters. If you want to use the underscore, you can. Nothing more than that. When the right time comes, I'll tell you all the rules. But don't use any special character. Don't use any numbers. Just use this. Okay. So bill underscore invoice is the name of my first macro, and this will help me whenever I come back to this Excel file. I know that this is going to talk about the bill invoice. Would you like to create some shortcut key? Well, yes, you can, but I'm not a big fan of shortcut keys. For example, if I go and say that, I go and press T, for example, T, like this. Control T is reserved by Excel, so VB insert shift automatically. Now I can run this macro using Control Shift T. For you, I will use this and I will show you. The moment I press Control Shift T, how the macro fires, and I also share my personal experience why I dislike this shortcut key. But again, it depends. If you like it, use it. Where do you want to store this macro? Well, this macro will always be applicable for this workbook. If you click on the drop down, you find here personal macro workbook, new workbook. No need to, we don't have to talk about that right now. We'll talk, but not right now. It's not important. This workbook means that the macro which I'm going to write, that will run only in this file. That will be available for run if you have this file opened. Would you like to give any description? Yes, of course. This is my first recording. So you can give the comment also, guys, about the project, what it is doing. Of course, you can give. You can write here a long, big syntaxes for your benefit, for your referral, or maybe for somebody else who is going to be your backup. Okay. So this is a comment. What this program is going to do. Well, this is my first recording. I can write this, and this is our September month. Let's click OK now. Once you click OK, you see that the button Start Recording is gone. It is now showing Stop Recording. So when you want to stop, you can stop. Now remember, whatever you do, every step will be recorded. Every step will have a syntax, right? So first thing which I want to do, I want to go in the A1 and I want to say that the month. Now, Jan, Feb, and March, for example, right? And then you come here and you say that build amount. This is how you write. So what is my build amount? 100, 300, 400, right? For example, you just notice that this is not actually 100, it's a typo error. No need to stop the recording and restart it. I used to do like this, 15 years back. I used to stop the recording and I used to do it again. And then when I used to do it again, I was like, have this always fear in my mind that this time it has to go correct. So you also have a sort of that the burden when you are actually working, you kind of not working so openly in Excel as generally you work. You're natural that the speed, because you always at the back of your mind there is a fear that, oh, what if I do some wrong step? Because nobody told me that if you have done something wrong, it's okay, correct it. Finally, this step will also be recorded in the program. So ultimately, you will get the correct value only. So there is no need to stop the recording. Like for example, this 100, we are going to change this to 450, for example. That's it. There's no need to stop it until you want it to be stopped. So what I did in this entire process, you see, I jumped from A1 to A2, A3, A4, and then B1, B2. So we will like to see how the VBA generated these syntaxes. And it's very easy. Before we stop the macro, I also like to go to the discussion sheet. See this, discussion sheet. And let's say I go and print here something called 6. And I come back here. Because I also want to show you that what happens when you go and change the sheet names. You should know that, right? Stop the recording. Can we stop the recording? Yes. Okay, there we go. Now, where I'm going to see that program, we will go in the Visual Basic. Yes, you have to go there because program will be recorded there. Now, before you go there, let us save this file. First of all, very important thing. Now, what happens when you save the file generally? File always gets saved, but in this case, it won't be. See, I'm saying Control S. Look at the prompt. To continue saving as macro-free workbook, click yes. I really wish that Microsoft should work on these errors because for beginners, this is very confusing, right? For a person like me who has done this 1,000 times, I can see this, I can understand this. Basically, it says that, look, now you need to change the extension of your macro file. Otherwise, this file, we will not, going to run those programs for you, because it finds that I have recorded something. So it says change the extension. So if I say yes to continue saving as macro free, which means I don't want this macro here. If I click yes, what happens? Your macro will be deleted. This one. Let me show you. Visual Basic. Go here. You see that here, module 2. See this program which we have just recorded. This is your first program. You should be excited about it. And before you ask me, sir, how this module 2 is created, do you know? Have you noticed? Module 2 was not created by me. I deleted every module except for module 1. Remember, which is still blank. If you have noticed this very important thing, how come the module 2 is inserted? Whenever you record something, Excel creates its separate module. It will not go in your module. It creates a new module. So please remember this point. Now, if I save this file, as I was telling you, as a macro free, then what happens? That program will be deleted, which we do not want, obviously. So we click on the no. When you click on the no, then they tell you, okay, they don't tell you, but you have to change the extension, which is XLSM, which is nothing but M for macro enabled file. The moment you do that, now this file will have a different extension, XLSM, not .xlsx. This can also be asked to you if you are appearing for some basic VBA interview round. Okay, you can simply, by looking at the extension, you can tell if it has a macro or if it doesn't have a macro. This file has. If you go to my screen, you see here, let's look at this. This file extension, this means this is macro free. So if you see this file, XLSM, this is a macro enabled file. And also you can see there is a little icon here. Okay, this icon can change according to your this Excel version, right? But generally, this icon is there. I mean, not just the extension, but icon is also there. Otherwise, you see in the normal Excel files, this extension is not there. Now, I'll tell you one thing very interesting. I'm not sure if you ever have, guys. I mean, since how long you have been using the Excel, but I learned Excel when the Excel was when you had this 2003 Excel version, very old version, because now you have 2007, you have 2010, you have 2013, you have 2016, then Office 365 also came, and then you have now 2019, right? So before 2003 there was, I guess, 2002, and then 2000 blah blah, right? So I was working in Excel since that time. So in 2003 Excel versions and the previous versions, we had a challenge. We were never able to tell you that if this file is macro, if this file has a macro or not, until unless we open that file, because in these versions we always have this version .xls. If you ever get the chance to see this Excel, right? Though it's very obsolete now, but then for any file, whether it's macro or it's not, we have a single standard extension. And when the 2007 comes, Microsoft changed the Excel totally. We didn't even have this ribbon right now. You see, right? Before 2007, this ribbon was not there. Excel was like this. When you click on the home, a drop down used to come, right? So if you go back to Excel 2003, if you by chance you get to see, this Excel 2003, you simply, I mean, you'll find it very outdated. You'll hate it, right? But as you know, with the time passes, of course, development always comes. So the point is, now we have these two extensions. So Microsoft came up with this idea, which is very good, right? So whenever you save the file, first time when you save the file, it will ask you if you have created some macro. Now, if I again go and save this file, you see, I'm saying Control S. Is it asking me? No, because now it knows that yes, the extension is there. So every time it is not going to ask you. Understand this point, right? So now, after saving the file with this extension, time to go to the Visual Basic, and time to click on this module 2 and see that what is written inside this program. Now this is very interesting. The first thing is that leave this option explicit for the time being. This I'll explain you next time. Every program you write or record, it will have a starting point and end point, isn't it? Like we have a birth date and we have an expiry date also. So everything has a start and end. This macro starts with subword and this macro stops with end sub. And inside this, the coding counts. This is how this entire process works, right? For example, in future, when we start learning, right now we are not creating any program. It is our first day. But let's say I'll give you example. I say sub and then give the name of your macro or dummy. Open bracket, close bracket, press enter. You see that? Automatically end sub is created. Now what is a sub? Sub is a word, keyword, VB keyword, which is given, right? So a line is also there. You can see automatically, the system automatically creates this. So this is my second macro and this is my first macro. This is how it is. So sub is followed with the macro name. Remember we given the name bill invoice, and remember the description. This color for the description, you see it's very different. It has a single quote because comments are comments. They can't be run, they can't be treated as VBA code, isn't it? So you have here single quotes, which tells you that your comments will have a single quote. Now some of the single quotes are unnecessarily here. We can delete that. Perfectly fine. You see, it's even telling you your shortcut key. Very beautiful. What if you forget the shortcut key? You can come back here. Now what if you want to write something more here? You forgot and now you want to write some more comments. You can write it. Press single quote and start writing, which is introduction or macro, right? We are learning how to record a macro. Single quote is required. If you forget to write the single quote, VBA will immediately give you the error, compiler error, because VBA will not be able to understand this. What is this? This is not a quote, right? So you have to put the single quote here. This is your comment. How do you write the comment in VBA? If they ask you, you can tell them that by putting a single quote before the first character, right? Okay, cool. Now, the next thing is that these are all the syntaxes and we like to go and understand them. We don't have to remember this, guys. You will not remember this. We will do so much practice. You will do so much hard work that these syntaxes will gradually start making sense. And I will not tell you about that. What is this dot and why these double quotes are coming. We will go and talk about that everything gradually. But today we just want to get some idea that what happens when you select the cell, what happens when you select the sheet. And the best part of VBA is it's more of like English language. Now, when you read this line, do you not kind of get the idea that what it is going to do? Range A1 dot select. It's going to select the A1 cell. And so now what I'm doing is I'm deleting everything, right? I'm deleting everything. Now, I want to run this macro again. For example, how will you run this? First option, which you can tell your user, look, I have created your bill invoice macro. Whenever you want to run it, go in the macro. You will find all the macros here. If this macro name if we would have not given a name, you remember macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, it's very difficult, isn't it? That's why we given it a name. Now I can read this name and I can remember that what exactly it is, it meant for. So should I click dummy or bill invoice if I have to run generate the bill? Of course, bill invoice. So I click on the run and you see that done. In just 1 second, it is done. So how to run the macro? That's the question. To run the macro, the first option is, what is the first option? The first option is that in the developer tab, Click on macros and select the right one. Right? Macro will fire. What is another option? Well, another option is the shortcut key if you have given. Now we have given the shortcut key, of course. So can I just go and delete this? And what was the shortcut key? Control Shift T or what? Yes. So there we go. Control Shift T, like this. Now, why I don't use this option? I don't prefer this option because I'll tell you, sometimes what happens, people, they have so much typo, this the speed on the keypads, that it may happen by some mistake they press this key, right? I'm not sure if you have seen, but I have personally seen few people in my company who are not really good in Excel, but when it comes to using the shortcut keys, they work very fast, right? So by mistake, if I use this shortcut key and let's say that macro is sort of deleting some data or some deleting some sheet, then what will happen, right? This happened actually with me. One of my junior called me and said that, I don't know, I'm facing a problem from last 1 week, but today I'm actually fed up and so I need your help. So he said that whenever I work on this Excel file, this file is given to me by my client, but whenever I work on this file, all of a sudden some data gets lost. I don't know what is happening. I just immediately checked his Visual Basics and I saw that there were some shortcut keys created for different programs. So I asked him maybe, now he doesn't know that what shortcut key he has pressed actually, because if you have pressed something wrong, you can't say that. You won't be able to know what you are pressing because you are pressing Control Shift maybe T, but by mistake you pressed Control Shift Y and Control Shift Y refers to some macro. So what I did is I immediately went on his window and I said that we need to delete this. Now deleting this from here does not make any sense, guys. This is just a comment. You have to delete this from the macro, right? So how to do that? You should know that if you want to. So we can do one thing. We can click on the macro and we can select the right one. First of all, the bill invoice, isn't it? Now, can we go and click on the delete? No, this will delete the entire macro. Okay. Let's click on the option. When I click on the option, this is where it is, Control Shift T. I just say like this, right? And I say, okay. And now let me come back. And now I can press Control Shift T and you see nothing is happening. It's gone. And better you remove that from here also. Okay, but I'll keep it for you. Okay, I'll just go and write here. This is now removed. So you understand the point. Okay, so this is the another option, but yes, we can't deny that. What is the another option? Now I'm telling you the option which most of 99% people use it. And I always prefer this. Create a button by going into the insert and shapes. And then assign the macro. That's it. Right? You see, Control Shift shortcut key. I told you the reason. In the macro also, if you have 20, 25 macros here, it will take some time for a person to find it out. And who knows, maybe he by mistake select something and run it. A wrong macro can also be fired. So why not to just go and create a button? Let's go in the insert. You all have seen this and choose any shape. Well, this is fine for me. And I just go and use this button. And now this is just a shape. Right click on this and say assign the macro. And then you go and give them name of the macro. That's it. Assign this. And now you see that hyperlink sort of is created. You can even right click and say that, okay, let me just edit this. I want to edit this so that I should know this is which macro invoice, for example, like this. So you can create the shape like this. Oh, well, center alignment, middle alignment, this I'll leave it to you. You can go in the shape, this shape format, whatever the formatting you want to do. Let's not waste time on all these things. You can choose any sort of template, up to you. Okay. So like, for example, you can this bill invoice also you can Okay, finally the job is done, and now I'm gonna hit on this. See that macro is firing. This is the best way. This is the right way of assigning a macro. Now your user can run it. Now you can create here other shapes also. You can assign the macros. Just go and write the right word here so that people, if they want to create the bill invoice, they click on this. If they want to send email, they should go and click on the button which says send email. You know, like this. Okay. Now, so far, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll just wait for 5 seconds. If you don't have a question, be on mute. No need to unmute and say, oblige me that no questions. Okay, just be on mute, and I will understand that you are going fine. You're understanding everything. Now, here comes the important part. This is for the user. But what if you want to go and do the testing of this program? How will you do it?